Good evening and welcome back to Esther Alexis, Body of an Extrovert. I do ask y'all to forgive my voice tonight. It is a little scratchy. I am sick, but I'm hoping that won't stop the conversation from flowing. So last we spoke, we actually discussed the impacts of relationships on our everyday lives. Our guest, Vanessa Merisier, opened up with us and talked about how the lack of fulfillment in her platonic relationships actually led to her joining a cult, and how ironically, those same relationships were able to bring about enough awareness in her in order to lead her out of that cult. Though not without damage and certainly not without lessons learned. Tonight's podcast, titled The Cult of Friendship, will explore how platonic relationships have paved the paths into the beings we are, and how our decisions regarding those friendships will pave the path into the beings that we're becoming. So without further ado, everyone please welcome back the one and the only Vanessa Merisier. So first and foremost, I wanted to talk about the importance of friendship, because I definitely don't want it to seem like a very cynical podcast. I'm very much someone who considers myself a realistic optimist. And I think that friendship is exceedingly important. Agreed?
I agree.
And so I say this because I think that as we reach this particular stage, and I don't want to be repetitive, but when you're a millennial, and right now we're in this point wherein you're either at work or finishing school or pursuing your master's or traveling abroad or whatever it is that you're pursuing to make your life what it is. You know what I mean? And it means that you're walking a different path. I think that in the society that we live in, we kind of grow up all together in the sense we're all following the same path. Everyone goes to pre-K, then they go through K through 8, then it's high school, then it's college or vocational school, or it's whatever it is. But kind of when you reach that point, it's like this precipice, because now your friends aren't on the same path. You know what I mean? And it's weird. You feel kind of disjointed, and then for the friends that you do group with, you're kind of hoping that you stay along the same path. But what happens when that path is no longer for you?
I mean, it happens, but that's when maturity steps in, because you have to understand that you're in my life, I love you, you love me, but we want different things, and everyone has to experience what life has for them. And not everyone wants to accept that every person has a season in your life. Some seasons are extended, some seasons are shortened, but everybody has a season in your life. And you can't choose to extend someone's season in your life. If that person was meant to be there to open your eye on a situation, or to help you through an experience, or push you towards things that you would never try on your own, once that happens, they've lived their purpose. Not to be mean or anything, but they've lived their purpose. It's not like you hate that person. It's not like I don't want you in my life. It's that, you know what, we're adults and we have a great time together and we've experienced a lot together, but life throws us in different directions. I know people who aren't willing to move towards a new opportunity or to another city or make a different choice because they're afraid of losing the people that they've grown up with, or people that they've built a strong bond with.
I agree. I actually love that you said the word relationship and that you said the word bond. I think a lot of the times we think that a relationship is something that needs constant watering, like a plant, for example. And oddly enough, I find that some of the best friendships I ever have, that I still have, are people that have never been always beside me. You know what I'm saying? I think of my friend Margaret, for example. After high school, we went in different directions, obviously for school, and then grad school, different directions. I think since high school, I've seen her a total of 4 or 5 times. We've never really been in the same city after that, never been in the same state even. And yet, I feel like she's one of my closest friends. You know what I mean? You could just pick up the phone and call her whenever, and it's back to what it was. You know what I mean? But I also feel like there's this part of friendships that we need to acknowledge about a relationship, is that there is an end to some things. I love that you were saying that there's a season and even a reason why people are placed in your lives. And I think that it's interesting because more than anything, I think that we're afraid not necessarily to just lose that person, but to lose that part of ourselves, which we've embedded in that person. I think it's because even more so than romantic relationships, I think that friendships are very intimate, because your friend not only sees who you think you are, but who you actually are, and then who you want to become, and they choose you. Unlike, your family, for example, who has to take you the way you are. Your friends choose you every single day. You know what I mean? And there's a love there, there's an intimacy there, there's a connection there that is truly so profound that I feel as though there are many romantic partners that you will have in your life who will never see the various aspects of you that make up your entire person the way your friends will. However, even with that being said, I think because of that intimacy, it becomes harder. It becomes a crutch almost, to pursuing new opportunities, to pursuing new friends even. But you found it in you to leave everyone and everything that you essentially knew behind in the pursuit of what you believed was your path to love platonically and perhaps even to self-love. And although it didn't take you where you thought it would, I think it's commendable that you could do it at all. Because even if it was an action born from frustration, it led you to this path that has now produced who you are today, someone that you're proud of. But I kind of want to ask, for those of us who are in similar positions, those of us who find ourselves not growing because we're kind of afraid to move, yet we are unsatisfied where we are. How difficult was that? And how do we do it to better ourselves?
When I stepped out and I said, all right, I'm going at this alone, the first thing that I wanted to find out was who I was, what I liked to do, what made me happy. And at that point, I realized that it was very important for me to be selfish. It was the best thing I could have done to myself when I said, you know what, Ness, it's time for you to be selfish. I would go on dates by myself. I would find out, hey, that makes me happy. I am going to go watch this movie alone. I'm going to go get my nails done. I'm going to go get my hair done. And I changed. I got time to fall in love with me. And I got time to realize this is how I want to be treated. This is who I want to be known as. These are the things that I want to achieve. These are the kind of people who are going to help me. And these are the kind of people who I want to be surrounded with. So taking all that time out and learning myself, till this day I'm still learning myself, and that was years ago when I did this, and I'm still learning myself. But I make it a point for self-care, and I make it a point to constantly reevaluate the friendships in my life. I've made some great friends, and I think it's very important. I say this to my friend all the time. It's very important to know what you have in a friend.
That leads me to say now that for the audience that's listening, that this conversation, when we talk about the cult of friendship, is not meant to be one that is destructive to your life. I want it to be very clear that all of these podcasts and these conversations are thought out with a specific intention, and it's meant to be constructive and not destructive. And when we talk about leaving specific friendships, we mean the ones that are no longer serving you, but are now detrimental to the person that you are becoming. And that is your best self. That is what we're hoping for.
I know everyone has that mom-like friend. Everyone has that friend that will egg you on, but they have a heart of gold. But if you're heated, you know that that's not the friend that I should call right now. Yeah. That's not the friend that I want to talk to. And it's like you need each of everyone. You need that mom-like friend. You need that, nobody messes with my friend kind of friend. You need that, you know what? Think about your future. You need different friends with different personalities, because it makes a whole. Mm-hmm. It makes a full picture. And with that, you are surrounded by people who want the best for you, but they give you the best of themselves. And you get to choose what you want to take from that person. You know, everybody has flaws. All of my friends have flaws.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, you know what? You get on my nerve today. But that's not the part that I choose to take from you. I choose to take that you are the sweetest person that I know, and you have my back 100%. That's the part I choose to take. And I think as we grow up and enter the real world, we need to realize that everybody's going to have a flaw. Every friend you make, every person you meet, every stranger you pass by, they're all going to have a flaw. But it's important what you take from everyone. So if you're ending a relationship, that doesn't mean the memories go down the toilet. You take the good things. You take the things that you've learned with that person, what that person has taught you about themselves, about life, and about yourself. And you hope that the person does the same. But you can't always make decisions for someone else. So what you do is you take what you can for yourself and you apply it and you become a better person. And that's what I did. That's what I did. And that's what I'm doing till this day. And for me, I realize that I want to be surrounded by older people. Because I carry myself a certain way, and I'd like to have friends who complement that. Because if I carry myself like, you know, I'm a free bird, I don't care about anything, that's the people that I'll surround myself with. And at that point, I don't have any friends that's going to push me forward. I don't have any friends that's going to say, there's an opportunity right there, you should take it. Because we're all living our best lives. We're all living for today. And for me, I decided that I needed friends that would live for today and for tomorrow. And pull greatness out of me. It's hard to find friends like that. But the hardest part is not settling.
Yeah.
The hardest part is not just settling because you want to make friends. No one wants to be lonely. But it's when you're alone you learn the most about yourself.
Agreed. Oh my gosh. Literally, let me just snap that into the mic. Let me just reach up like with my little fins and snap into the mic. I think that is well said. I think anyone and everyone can agree. And I also love that you mentioned that you had friends that have different personas, if you will, and different characteristics, wherein you saw their flaws, but you also saw the greater part of them, which would have in one person their passion and one person their love. And I like in particular that you said some of your friends pull or like show you the way to opportunities. I think particularly the flaw as a generation that we have is because we rely on our comfort zone. We don't allow our friends to grow because we're afraid what their growth might look like for us. Does it mean that we're alone? Does it mean that they will find something or someone better than me?
We feel like we're left behind and we try to pull them back with us.
Exactly. And I think what people fail to realize is in that fear, you're not being a friend. I think that a lot of the times we have to pull ourselves back from a relationship. And I think that this is really where the whole maturity part steps in, is where you walk into a relationship and you genuinely evaluate, am I being a good friend to this person? Because we can ask people to give us the world, and it's great when we have it, but we can't expect to have nothing in return to give. And so oftentimes when we see opportunities for our friends, that means that they won't be near and dear to us anymore. And when it means that they're going to be maybe even in a relationship that doesn't complement our relationship, how do you go about, dealing with those fears within yourself in order to push someone else? Do you ever feel as though, like, if you push your friend and you're like, great, do this, that might mean something negative for you? I feel like that's a human conundrum. So how do you kind of face that and do it anyway?
To be a real friend is to do exactly what you're saying. To push someone towards greatness. And if you find yourself feeling scared, feeling left behind, trying to figure out your place in that person's life, which I have found myself questioning that. And for me, I took it as, you know what? If I'm feeling this way towards someone that I know that I love, and them getting an opportunity that I know that would open numerous doors for them, I need to reevaluate if I'm leaning on them too much. I need to reevaluate if I've put all of me into them and I'm living through them.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And that's when you need to figure out, is this a relationship that needs to continue? And even if you're ending the relationship for the other person, not for you, for I think is the most respectable thing that you can do. And a lot of days now it's just me, 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 me. Sometimes you do have to end a relationship because you're mature enough to realize that I'm holding you back, even though you don't see that I'm holding you back.
Absolutely. And I think that it's so much easier said than done, like so many things actually are. If I'm being honest, there were points in my life, I remember in college, like I went to a college that I felt like I didn't necessarily fit in. And I was like, I'm not looking for friends here. I was like, I don't really need friends. I have my friends. I'm good. And nonetheless, I made friends. You know, human beings are social creatures. You're going to connect with some people there. But I felt like, as I look back now, that was a terrible attitude to have. You know what I mean? Like, how many more doors could have opened had I just been myself and actually talked to people? How many more experiences could I have gained? How many more insights, you know? And so as we turn down that avenue and we talk about that and how friendship can sometimes be a crutch, I think that it's very important that we discuss how to relinquish that crutch, if you will. Like, how do you not necessarily end a friendship, because I feel like that's a very tough word, but you put a cap on a relationship. Like you say, well, this is the point of the road, we separate. And of course, no one knows how life goes, and so we can rejoin again later. You never know. But how do you cap it for where it is right now? Because if it's not helping you grow in the moment, if it's holding you back in the moment, how do you let it go?
In order to end a friendship properly, you have to be mature and you have to be an adult about it, because it's a tough thing to hear. I'm going further in the journey that I have set for myself or that I want for myself, and I don't see how that can happen with us as an us.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to say, I don't want to be your friend anymore. But if you're with a friend, someone you've known for years, someone who loves you, someone you love, someone you've enjoyed memories with, you know, enjoyed creating them and everything, you have to give that person respect.
Yes.
Enough to sit down and say, listen, I love you. And I know you love me, and I know that you would bend backwards for me, and I would do the same for you. But we are set out to do different things in life. You have a different career choice. I have a different career. And even if it's not a different career choice, sometimes you're in the same career, but with different journeys.
Or even different values.
Exactly.
Because I think of myself, for example. I love to travel. I love it. 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 I'm addicted to it. Even when I'm broke, I'm not here. It's like, it's this incredible, like, you know, contradiction that is my life. But I have friends who love to travel in theory. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
And then in practicality, when you're putting plans in motion and whatnot, it just won't happen. And it's not necessarily because they don't want to, but as your friend, they want to share these experiences with you. And sometimes that passion that you have, those experiences aren't meant for you to share with others. I like how you said earlier on that a lot of the times when we are close with our friends and it becomes a constant for us, we become a plural. Like we forget that we're individuals and we forget to grow as individuals. And that's really the important part that we want to focus on, is that your growth as an individual cannot always be tied to that constant. At some point, you must let it go and grow into yourself. And that means going through uncomfortable situations. That means taking a fall and having nobody catch you. That means, you know what I mean, getting ready to simply walk a path where you know no one has been before within your circle. And that's totally okay. It's totally okay to say, hey man, like, this was cool when we used to do it or whatever, but now it's just not for me. It's not what I'm about anymore. And I feel like that's hard because it's admitting to ourselves that we're no longer who we used to be, and that we don't like or we don't want that anymore.
And that's the easiest way to know when it's time to end a relationship. When you realize that you have put so much into becoming a better you, but the person that you've known for so long does not accept that or doesn't compliment the person that you've become. That's when you know it's time to have that conversation. That's when you know it's time to reevaluate your friendship or your relationship or whoever that person is to you. That's when you sit down. And unfortunately, it almost seems like homework, but you have who you let enter and stay in your life is very important. Absolutely. It determines the way that you see things. It determines where you decide that you're going to go. You know, you can have a friend who's completely supportive. It's like, you know what? You can do anything that you want to do, friend. If you decide that you want to become a social worker, I am for you. I'm going to applaud you any chance that I get. I'm going to support you. I am going to keep you in my prayers. If that friend that you've known is not pushing you and complimenting, or even it's even greater when they're ahead of you and they pull you and help you reach where you're trying to achieve. If that's not happening, that's when it's time to have that conversation. That's when it's time to say, you know, our lives are heading in different places, and that's okay. And I think nowadays people are just scared to say it because they believe that relationships need to be forever.
That's the thing.
And and it's a good thing, but then if you see it the wrong way, it hinders you. Because yes, you're constantly building relationships because you're constantly meeting new people. And I like to think that there's 5 phases of relationships, because there's that first time that you meet someone and you're like, oh, okay, this person seems like they have a great vibe. And then you move on and you're like, okay, well, this is someone that I can see in my life for more than one event. Like, you know, I could see us hanging out. Then it's okay, this is the person that I can see if I ever had something going on in my life. This is the person that I can call. This is the person that can help encourage me and help me pull out of my funk. Then you get the person who is willing to accept who you're becoming. And sometimes it's not even the same person that you started with. Sometimes you can start with a group of friends that you've known since they were 5 years old, since you were in diapers. Graduation of high school is a big turning point for a lot of people. It's when you realize that there's a whole world out there that I have been sheltered from.
Absolutely.
No one is going to be out there looking at my every step and say, hey, there's a hole there, don't step in the hole. You have to make these decisions for yourself. When you're out there and open and no one is giving you rules, and you don't have, like in high school, you have expectations. When you don't have that, you're learning yourself all over again, because that is the prime time. What do I like? What don't I like? Every decision you make affects tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that. And sometimes the friends can't stick around for the getting to know you process.
Absolutely.
And you can't be trying to to know yourself and trying to keep a friend.
Agreed.
Because one side is going to fail, and it's going to be the getting to know your new self side. Because you know what? You're going to go back to familiarity. Ugh, that word always tongue ties me.
It's good. You're good. Because I'm always stumbling over my words here. And that was very well eloquently put. I literally don't know how to say it better. And I think that it's not only important to say that necessarily, that you have to kind of pick one of yourself, like one or the other sometimes, where it's yourself or the people that you love, and it really sucks to say it like that. But I think that saying that it's okay to grow out of that season, because I think a lot of the times, and again, relationships aren't always meant to be forever, but a lot of the times, like, you won't realize where life will take you. Like, I've said goodbye to so many friends in different seasons, and then I've re-welcomed them later on in different seasons, only to grow and recycle and move on, you know what I mean? Because that's just the way of life. But I also think that it's also important to acknowledge that it's okay to mourn those relationships. It's okay to be like, yo, like, this kind of broke my heart. I think that a lot of the times platonic breakups are harder than romantic breakups, because this is someone, again, who has chosen you time and time again. This is the person that you thought would always be there forever. I also like that you said that friendship kind of begins and ends with respect. And I feel as if you respect someone enough, then they'll be able to be like, yo, I've got to let her grow. I've got to let them do this. And that's another thing. Our generation has been called the nicety generation, wherein you allow things to like skate by, even though it doesn't fly. Like, it goes against who you are as an individual. Like, say, for example, someone says something about your character and you're like, that's absolutely not okay. But because they're your close friend and you're like, you know what, so-and-so probably didn't even mean it, you know, that's just how they are. We like excuse their behaviors and we think that we're doing it for them, wherein we're actually doing it for ourselves because we're too afraid to confront the fact that this is no longer working.
I don't believe in prolonging a friendship that you're not happy with. But if you do choose to stay in that friendship and you do choose to work it out, there has to be changes. And you have to give the time for change. You know, sometimes people don't meet your expectations and it's not on purpose. It's just, well, you know what? My other friends don't have this expectation. And, you know, they lose track of what kind of friend they're supposed to be for you. Mm-hmm. And what kind of friends they're bringing for other people. You need to give time for change. You need to accept apologies. You need to let go of grudges. That's the only way that's going to work to move forward. But you need to make it clear what you want.
Transparency.
Exactly. And I am a firm believer in that. And that is how I start every relationship.
You know, it's funny that you say that because I truly feel as though the longer that you are with people that you love, the less and less transparent it becomes, like these boundaries that you set. I think that everyone walks into a friendship having some kind of semblance as to who that person is that they're going to be, you know, friends with. And then the longer the relationship goes on for, the muddier the waters become because you kind of have excused things. You've made exceptions over time. Or you've shown in some grand form or another how much you care for that person, how much you appreciate having them in your life. And so it becomes, well, I do this with everyone, so it's not a big deal, or this is just who I am, so you should have expected that in me within this relationship. And I feel as though having these sit-down conversations, like you mentioned, are crucial. And it's funny because you find that in like the best of friends. I feel as though over time you're like, well, I know she's sensitive, so I'm not going to say anything, even though, you know, she hurt my feelings. Well, I know that, you know, that's just the way she is, or that's how she jokes around, so I'm not going to let her know that she's crossed the line or whatever. And essentially we again make these excuses and we say to ourselves, the next time it won't happen, or I can deal with this because this is how it's always been, you know. And did you have something?
Yeah, I do actually.
Go ahead.
That's not a way to live.
Yeah.
And I can only speak of the experience that I've had. And I've been there, and looking back at it now, I regret ever living that way. Because you know what? You spend your time tiptoeing around someone's feeling, mm-hmm. who will stomp on yours with construction boots. So you spend that time, and you're losing part of yourself. You're constantly adjusting yourself. You're constantly re-evaluating yourself. And you're like, but this person is over here, and they're content on how they're being. You know, I was mean, I was rude, and I'm just gonna go. But the other thing that I say to people, and I'm like, no one knows that they hurt you
but you.
So you know what, she could have stepped on your toes and thought it was the ground, and now you're mad for 3 weeks because you thought she stepped on your favorite shoes out of spite or whatever it was and didn't say sorry. You need to communicate. I'm very big on communication because you know what? You're not a mind reader.
And I think I really liked when you said that because, let's be honest, social media has taught us the most valuable thing it has ever taught us, which is ghosting people. And oh wow, y'all should have just saw the expression, y'all. That was a big huff into the mic. I don't even know if the mic caught that. But it's ghosting people. And it's not only on social platforms, it's in real life now.
Yes.
Like instead of like you being like, you know what, man, I had a problem with that. Like I really didn't like the way you just
disappear.
You just fall off the face of the earth.
And I think that's absurd that people do that.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you. It is a struggle boat for me. I don't ghost people, but I will let you know. Like, I feel like I have this thing. It's 3 strikes. You have 3 strikes. So, like, and I mean, with crossing boundaries that are actually significant to me, you have 3 strikes. And then from there, like, you're dead to me. Not like, no, not like, and I'm being honest. I like to be very honest. Not like I would kill you in the street, like I have beef with you. It's just now I don't consider you a friend. I don't consider you an anyone. I consider you a stranger. And in the same way I would treat a stranger, just keep walking past you. I can look in the eye and keep walking past you. That's what I'm going to do. You are now invisible. That's how I see it.
I'm clear on my expectations. And just like you, I do have a strike policy. And I don't go around saying, listen, you're going to be my friend? I have a strike policy. So, I don't,
Imagine you welcome to the contract. Prepare, please read carefully the fine print. You'll note the strike policy here. Please sign here, initial here, by each strike.
But because I'm clear on who I am, I'm clear on what I accept and what I don't expect.
Absolutely.
And it's important how you carry yourself, because it's one thing to say it and carry yourself a different way. Mm-hmm. But when you say something and the way you carry yourself, they're in alignment, that is golden. And at that point, you get a different level of respect. And when you end friendships, you're not at fault. Because it's not like, oh, well, she just stopped being my friend out of nowhere. No.
We understand
she knew what
happened.
she wanted.
Mm-hmm.
She had an expectation. She has places that she wants to go. You don't align with where she's heading. You don't complement her lifestyle. And that's a hard decision for anyone to make. And sometimes you don't have to cold cut and someone out of your life. You can just be like, you know what? Well, this is not the kind of person that I just hang out with everything. Where, you know, we can be cordial. But it's important to know, okay, well, this is what I'm going to accept. And this is what I'm not going to accept. And once you realize what you're going to accept, it makes making friends and keeping certain friends for a lifelong journey easier.
I agree. So just in case I didn't get that, she was like, if y'all ghost her, it's over for you. That's part of the strike policy. It is written on the contract. So before you sign that contract to be friends with Vanessa.
I don't understand the ghosting part. I believe I've seen it on a few commercials. This girl upped and moved. She moved. I mean, changed her phone number. She moved to another state. Yep. She started a new job. That is ridiculous. You use your words and you tell someone how you feel.
I agree.
And unless this person is stalking you and it's gotten to the point where the police can't handle it, there's no reason for you to uproot your life.
Hey, sometimes, let me tell you, those stalkers, let me tell you.
But you're ending a friendship.
You can try, you know, and we're going to take a time out here, folks, from the grown-up part. This is legit. Some people, you never see the stalker in their eyes. You don't. It starts off with a phone call, you're being a good friend. It starts off with a good text, you're being a good friend. And suddenly, in a 6-week period, it's a 12 missed calls, 6 missed voicemails, 7 texts, and you're sitting here like, wow, I think this is the stalking. And it's funny because, you know, since we're talking about friendship, y'all, we're also going to talk about that part only because stalking has become the new normal on social media.
That's
if you don't stalk someone, it's weird. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're trying to find out everyone's information before you actually get to know them on a romantic or platonic level. And let me just say...
Okay, that I get you. I do stalk.
Everyone stalks.
I do stalk.
But we've got to leave it online.
Yes!
We've got to leave it online.
Yes!
And I say that
there's safety behind online stalking.
Yeah, well, we would hope. At one point, Facebook was telling people who visited your page, and I was like, how dare you expose me for who I am? Okay. But on a realer note, I think that in essence, the entire conversation, what I could pull away from it is that friendships, authentic friendships, are a part of your truth as an individual. But I think that in order to have authentic friendships, you must first and foremost have an authentic relationship with yourself. Mm-hmm. And that means being able to walk away from people who have given you what a picture of yourself is supposed to look like And you need to stop adhering to that picture. You need to stop painting inside those lines.
Sometimes you just have to rip it up.
Sometimes you have to go find a new picture entirely or go paint a new one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so much easier said than done, but I think it is so beyond worth it. Again, when I remember when speaking to Megan about her support system, because we were talking about chasing our dreams and having a support system, it came to mind that not everyone has a support system, but then there are those support systems that aren't necessarily supporting the greater part of you. And I feel as though as long as we are afraid to grow out of the situation or the people or the season that we are in, we will find ourselves constantly within our comfort zone, our place of rest. And where they lay you to rest is where you won't awake again. You know, truly and honestly, it's a scary thing. It's a scary time. But I think that we have to find it within ourselves to say it's absolutely okay to leave people that we love where they are. However, because we're afraid to say that, because we're afraid of what change looks like in a friendship for us, we don't. And then we end up walking away hurt. We end up walking away bitter, resentful, betrayed. And at the end of the day, we must be accountable for our own actions or our non-actions, if that's even a term. Do you know what I mean? Because it's one thing to say, you know, I'm escaping the cult of friendship. And I think it's important that we do, because now friendship has become this, I need you, you need me. We've got to be together in this particular space. And we need to leave that mind frame. Or that state of mind. So when I say escaping the cult of friendship, I mean escaping the state of mind wherein people always have to be beside you. Your friends always have to grow with you, because the fact of the matter is, you can be growing as an individual, but you will never have the power or the influence over someone's life to determine that they will grow with you or how they will grow. That's just not the power that we have in life. And it would be great if we did. However, we need to come to terms with the fact that that's not the case. And whether or not we see our friends going down a path that we don't approve of, or growing in a direction that's better for them, and that just means that we might not be the way we were, we must allow it to happen, because another sign of a very healthy friendship is independence. Is we allow that person to grow. We allow that person to fall. And when they ask for our help, we help them get up. You know, a lot of the times, particularly when I think of this situation, wherein you went to a cult, it was hard. It was hard to let you go. And I'm not going to lie. I felt like for a long time, I did not resent you, but I certainly was not happy about it. I wasn't happy with you. But I came to realize over this period of time that this is the journey she has to walk to become the person that she is becoming, whether or not that person is someone that I will grow to love or love the same way or even associate with is really not her problem or really my own. If I loved you at all from base, if there is really a solid foundation there, then I must allow you to walk the path that you are meant to walk in life without influence, without interruption, because that's important to your development as an individual. So I think that's important. And, you know, I know that we're talking about escaping a specific mind or a state of mind when it comes to friendships that are just no longer good for us. However, for the friendships that you do want to preserve, because we do want to preserve the ones that are good to us, because there are friendships that are good to us. I think that one concept that we don't recognize and we really should take the time to acknowledge is putting in the time and effort for a friendship. It was so much easier when we were younger to just be friends, to make that time. We were always in class together. We were always, spending the weekends together. We're always doing something. However, as you get older, and as you said, our schedules get booked, and we grow, we go into different zip codes, we grow into different individuals, careers take us different ways, life takes us different ways. If you aim to preserve a friendship, you absolutely have to put in the time and effort for it, like homework, like clockwork, because no relationship worth having comes easily. Nothing worth having comes easily, you know? But that also doesn't mean that it has to be difficult. And I don't, again, want this to be a destructive conversation. I want it to be enlightening. I want it to be healing. I want it to be comprehensive, because relationships are incredible things, each and every one of them, platonic, romantic. But we must learn how to prioritize the friendship with ourselves. We must. We must go out on our own dinner dates. We must take care of ourselves. And that will attract people to you in platonic relationships, romantic relationships. It will. And I think that although platonic relationships, all relationships, have a specific level of influence on our lives, there is no greater influence than that of the beckoning of our souls. And truly and honestly, you must pour into yourself with the same amount of energy you are pouring into others, because you too are worthy of the love that you want to give to others. You too are worthy of the time that you dedicate to others. We have to nurture that relationship. This way we are able to have healthy, balanced, meaningful relationships with others. These are the signs of a healthy friendship that we must seek out in others. And if they don't have them, then we must learn that it is okay to grow out of them. Again, I don't want anyone walking away from this thinking that the moral of the story was to cut your friends. That's not it. We live in this cancel culture where it's, oh, you're canceled. That's not healthy for you. It's not good for the end of a friendship. Even if it is the end of a friendship, it's not good for you as an individual. You must, if you have respect for that person and for the relationship and the bond that you had, realize that, hey, a conversation must be had. You know, something is not working out anymore. And if that's the case, then I must leave so that I can pursue what is the greatest version of myself, or the best relationship I've ever had, which is with me. You know, these are the things that matter. Vanessa, we totally appreciate having you on the show tonight. Is there anything else that you wanted to say?
I would like everyone to understand that there are 5 kinds of relationships that we deal with daily. Mm-hmm. There's your spirituality.
Absolutely.
There's your friendships.
Okay.
There's your romantic relationship.
It's been dead for some time now.
And then there's your relationship with self. It's a hard balance. Hard work pays off. And relationship with self doesn't mean that, you know, I'm going to close my door and I'm going to sit in my room and I'm going to find self. It could mean I have a favorite park that I love to go to. St. Mary's.
Oh, by the sea?
By the sea.
I'm sorry, I just outed you. That was terrible.
It's okay.
If y'all are finna stalk her, I guess that's where you go.
It's my thinking place. It's somewhere that I go when I'm feeling down. It's somewhere that I go when I'm feeling happy. Something about the water calms me. Something about the water, the flow of it gives me hope. It makes me happy. And right there, that's my self-care. And as we grow up and we get busy and, you know, we want to be here and we want to be there and we want to be here, we need to figure out balance. That's the first thing. Because if you can't figure out, and even between just friends, I have 2 different kinds of friends. They probably don't mesh well altogether. And now I have to balance out, well, this is who I am completely by myself. But who am I with these 2 friends when we're separate? And do they complement who I actually am? Is it who I actually am? Do I change myself? And when I change myself, am I happy with the person that I become in order to spend time with this friend? if you're not happy with the person that you have to transform yourself into to be around this person doesn't compliment you. They compliment your make-believe character.
Or who you were. I think a lot of people
Exactly.
compliment our past.
And it's, we're in the present.
Facts.
And we have to be. It is.
It's exhausting.
Because, I'm sorry, but I can't be anything but me.
I think it's, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that it is draining. It is. I don't know how people could live. I feel like whenever you change who you have to be in a particular situation, it's like you're leading multiple lives. Like you're trying to impress these people by being a thug, these people by being an academia, these people by being a charitable, martyr, if you will. And I'm like, what is it? I mean, if you can't be your most authentic self in every group of friends that you have, then again, it should give you pause and give you reason to reevaluate those friendships. And then it should give you greater pause to reevaluate yourself. Why do you feel the need to change for people? Why do you feel that these people should inspire this kind of change in you? Is this change for the better? Will this change contribute to your professional life, your spiritual life, your romantic life? And these are all things I think that we have to take into consideration. And I don't know. I think that it definitely 1,000% starts with saying, I'm okay with being alone. I think that is the greatest problem of just humanity. It's not a generational problem. It's not a female problem, a male problem. It's a human problem. We are such social creatures that we forget sometimes the person that we socialize with the most is ourselves. The person that we are with the most is ourselves. And so if we don't take the time to nurture with that individual, to relationship with ourselves, to understand what we like, what we don't like, it becomes very easy to be malleable and to fit molds that other people have created for us, and to destroy essentially the mold that we have within ourselves that can grow into such an amazing being. Anything else?
No.
Well, folks, that was our conversation regarding relationships. Again, our guest tonight was Vanessa. I'm not going to drop her last name because, to be quite frank, I don't know how to say it well in English. It's going to come out with an accent, and I don't want y'all to judge me. But I'll be sure to drop her Insta or Facebook handle if she so pleases. Do you please?
I do, please.
And feel free, to drop your comments and leave your thoughts behind. Are you currently in a group of friends that you feel like are not pushing you towards your greater self? Are you currently in a relationship where you feel like you're stifling your own growth? Do you feel like you're stifling someone's growth? Let us know. We love to converse with you. Again, with Esther Alexis, Body of an Extrovert, we thank you so much for coming tonight. Have a good night, folks.